city like a business and not run it like, I don't know, it would be helpful for run it like a business because that makes people accountable. It also runs and you run the numbers and you look at things more realistically in that aspect. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's all I had signed up. By show of hands, anyone else like to speak? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to comments from the city manager. Turn over to Mr. LeCarry for his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to extend all my sympathies to all the citizens and residents that suffered through the recent storm and the damages that they incurred. I emailed council today. I'm implementing a storm debris pickup program for the next 3 weeks. We're going to be setting up dumpsters. We're going to be posting signs. That'll be from the September 5th of this month to the 21st of September. Anyone with storm damage debris can put it on the curb, and Public Works will be picking that up and we'll be disposing of that. I'd like to commend all the employees, all the staff, everyone that contributed, the volunteers that contributed their assistance for the storm. Without everyone doing their part, we rescued several people that didn't evacuate. Without everyone's cooperation and work effort, this probably would have been much more severe. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Open up to comments from the mayor and city council. I'll start with Ms. Rodriguez.
Everybody did a wonderful job with the city. I really don't have much more to say. There's a lot going on today, so I hope everybody's safe. And I know there's property damage. Am I talking too low for you, Dave?
Yeah, click your mic. Your mic's on.
Please speak up.
Sorry, that's unusual. I'm speaking too low. I know that people had damage, and I apologize. I'm sorry for that. And we'll all work together to make our city better. Thank you.
Thanks. Vice Mayor McCary.
Echoing what everyone else said, thank you to all the emergency first responders, to the Public Works, to everyone who helped out for the storm. I know we're probably going to have a lot of future conversations related to the storm, so I'll keep it brief at this instance, but my condolences to everyone who did suffer damage, and we will be speaking about it in the future.
My hat's off to all the city employees for their dedication, the work that they've done, the preparation during the storm, and then afterwards. Your hard work, truly appreciated. This is something that everybody came together, and thank you all very much. And with some of the sacrifices they made in order to serve the city, so truly appreciate it. Thank you.
I as well echo that. Like I said, it was a tough spot. A lot of people got damaged, so my heart goes out to those folks. Obviously, the city's here for you. Sal's put together the dumpsters to get rid of some of that stuff. So obviously reach out if there's something else you feel we should be doing. I'd be happy to take that up with the council and see what we can do. Also want to thank staff, did a wonderful job. Without the staff, obviously it's been much worse as they noted. So, hats off to those staff members that were 24/7 out there taking care of business. Appreciate you. One thing I want to add, I don't know, Sal put together kind of a stats, if you would, kind of some stuff that went on. I don't know if we get something finalized, if that, maybe put that out to the public just to make them aware of what all the city did do, because people maybe don't know.
Yeah, we're going to be coordinating with the building official and and other departments, the fire department, police department, to hone in any of those estimates that I provided to council within the next week or so. It's damage assessment is going to take quite some time. It's going to have to include input from citizens back and forth. Several relationships. The building official was out today. Looking over structures, making sure that if some residences are still livable, with the amount of damage that they received. So he's going to be continuing that effort along with code enforcement, and we'll get more definitive numbers in the future.
Yeah, and the only other thing, like I said, and I haven't heard anything negative, but I assume you guys are going to have maybe a meeting afterwards just to kind of go over things and then look at opportunities. If there's anything that maybe didn't go quite as well, we could work that in for next time to improve.
Yes, I mean, I plan on following up with staff at our weekly department head meetings this Monday. We'll catch up on that. You got to remember, quite a few of our firefighters, police department, they spent the past 48 hours
Sure.
up the entire time. Everyone from the chiefs down. So I really appreciate their sacrifice and the work that they did to provide as much service as possible as what they can do. So, but we're recouping the fire. The firehouse is now. They brought everything back between last night and this morning, so we were able to put council chambers back together this morning. So we're getting everything wrapped up so we can go back to work and start taking care of issues.
Yep. And then the last thing I have is a staffer from Rubio's office reached out. Senator Rubio is confident they're going to be able to possibly get a bill passed to provide some additional funding on top of what FEMA can provide. So he's working on that as well. So that's all I have. Next on the agenda, we'll start the council business. Item number 1, discussion of salary study and code enforcement officer final costs of the fiscal year 23-24 city budget. I'll turn it over to Mr. LeCarry for introduction.
Yes, I'm going to actually send this back to our finance director, Rachel. What she has done is go ahead and did a definitive breakdown of allocating the funds for the salary study that the council wanted us to go ahead and show from the general fund, utility fund, and CRA where everything is going and what the total amount of money is going to be from both the reserve fund and contingency.
Yeah, so we broke it down by fund. So looking at the salary study, it was approximately $266,000 on the general fund, $11,758 on the CRA fund, and $64,000 on the utility fund for a total of $341,000. And then you had spoken about maybe splitting that between reserves and contingency. And then we went back and looked, and I know you had mentioned putting aside some money as well for the PBA. So that would be, an extra $60,000 to $75,000, depending on how much council wanted to do. And then we were also looking, I had budgeted previously for the previous city manager salary with the 3%. So if you wanted to go up to $140,000 for him based on salary study results, the mid for that position was $124,000 and the max is $153,000. So I think we were looking to do around $140,000, so that does make sense based on the salary study. And that would be an additional $7,400 on the general fund. So the total would be $334,000. And like I said, that includes the pay study, the CM amount, city manager to $140,000, and then an additional $60,000 to PBA. Or we can increase that if you would like. I mean, it's up to you.
If I just want to jump in real quick before any conversation gets started to make it clear, the amount for the PBA is really just at this point, it's a number to help you budget for next year. Negotiations have been requested by the PBA. They are scheduled to start on September 11th, I believe.
Yes.
So this number is not set in stone. This is not anyone dictating to the PBA what the city is willing to do. Negotiations will start on September 11th in good faith. This is just a number to help you budget. It could be that number, it could be less than that number, it could be more than that number. So I just want to make sure that's clear for anyone listening and they understand that's the process that the city is absolutely going to be negotiating with the PBA after the budget's started. So we have to do something at this point.
So what was that total again, please?
So again, for the general fund pay study amount, it was $267,000. It was an additional $7,400 for the city manager from the general fund. And I'm not entirely sure how much council would like to kind of budget and put aside for the PBA negotiations, but we had said between $60,000 $70,000. So if we did 60, it's $334,000.
And if it's 70, it's 344,000.
Right, exactly. And that's just general fund portion of it, because I know that's what's more.
And when we last spoke, just to clarify, we were ballparking $200,000 out of reserves and $100,000 out of contingency reserves.
So you'd need to do 134 out of contingency then.
So we would have to do 134, 144 out of contingency. That would leave about 150,000 left in contingency.
Yep.
And then 200,000 out of reserves.
Or what we were also thinking is doing an equal split between the two, so we can balance out between do an even split of reserves and contingency, which still would leave us at, I believe, 33%. If
Yeah,
we
so you
did-
could do 175 out of each even.
If we do, but don't we probably want to keep the contingency higher from a, I mean, I guess it's a current year accounting, so if you have the contingency, you have more under current year as opposed to pulling from reserves.
Right, and then contingency just rolls into reserves anyway the next year. So,
Correct. So if we
yeah.
don't use it, then it rolls into reserves and we
Exactly.
rebuild it. So I think we'd rather pull out of reserves now and hit contingency a little less
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
and then carry it across.
Whatever way you like to do.
I like it that way, personally.
I agree.
I like it that way.
I feel better having more contingency.
Yeah, especially since we unfortunately have just had a storm, so we don't know what we're running up
Absolutely.
against. So I'd rather have current year a little healthier if possible.
I predict the next 2 months are going to be very busy. So
Okay, so we'll budget $200,000 from reserves. And what amount would you like from contingency?
$140 out of $144 out of contingency, if I
Okay.
did my math right.
Yep,
And that's the 275 for the PBA. And again, that's.
That's 70,000 for PBA.
correct.
And that's a guesstimate, that's not a hard, fast rule. We can make
Correct.
less, the same, or more.
correct. Yes, or it has not been negotiated.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Just for
saying.
budget
It's
purposes. Right.
It's not a definitive number, it's a
Mhm.
guesstimate.
Once
Yeah.
Sal puts on his negotiating cap and his boxing gloves, we'll see what comes out.
And then we also have the code enforcement officer that we priced out at $52,535, and that includes benefits, training, outfitting, all that. So we said that the city would need to raise the millage rate 0.18 from 6.35 to 6.53 to properly fund that from property taxes.
I sent over a question to you
Yes.
about
And
the,
Nancy has reviewed that.
oh boy, here comes the lawyer.
We went back
You're
and
not going to
forth.
like my answer.
I didn't think I
Unfortunately,
never do.
it was a very good thought. But the statute specifically,
What was the question?
the question, I don't have it verbatim, but essentially,
Basically, the question was, I said, well, since 25% of our code enforcement issues are related to working without a permit, theoretically then, the code enforcement is actually doing some building code enforcement because he's tagging people who are working without a permit. So then can we assign 25% of the new code enforcement person's costs or 25% of code enforcement's costs to the building department budget? Because theoretically, per state law, he's only, in his budget, he's only allowed to handle building code related issues. Indirect and direct costs. And I said, well, that's an indirect cost, but apparently someone doesn't agree with me.
the statute at issue, that this falls under actually defines indirect costs. And unfortunately, reading that language and talking to our building official, the actions taken by code do not fall under indirect costs. They still are code. It would fall under enforcement or implementation of any other local ordinance other than validly adopted local amendments to the Florida Building Code are directly related to the enforcement of the Florida Building Code. The building official indicated that although it's working without a permit, the code that it's actually enforced process under is not the Florida Building Code, it's the city's code. So that would defeat that idea. But it was a
I disagree
brilliant idea.
respectfully with their assessment.
I was with it until I talked to Mike, and then he kind of killed it. No. You have to look at the language and the statute and the definition of indirect cost. Like I said, that was just one provision that specifically says you cannot use funds from the from enforcement of the building code to do these certain things. And that thing I just read to you about enforcement or implementation of other local ordinances specifically is included, and that is what Mike said Jeff is doing. So I apologize.
Good thought, though, Todd. Good try.
It's still unlicensed contractor activity, which does fall under his thing, but I'm not a lawyer. No offense.
What do you play one on two?
No, I take no offense. If I did, I wouldn't make it.
So no direct, I mean, there's no motions or direction to be taken at time. It's just, we wanted to present this, and this is basically what, we have our next hearing next week on Thursday, the 7th. Just to confirm, is which I made a mistake to council when I sent out meetings. We're going to change that. It is at 5:30 on Thursday, right? 5:30. It's 5:30 next Thursday. I thought it was later, but I was incorrect.
I am not in town, as you're aware. I notified everyone, just so you know, I'm not here. Sorry.
Okay, you do. Okay. All right. Yeah, on the calendar it's not. But we will change that to to reflect 5:30. But we just wanted to let council know, and if they had any other input, this is what we planned on going forward with at the next hearing.
One question I had, and again, want to avoid raising millage rate at all costs possible. As we're taking a hit on the reserves and contingency, which makes sense. And for the conversation we had, it looked like we were still going to be good after this. Is there any reason we couldn't absorb this as well into those and not raise the millage rate?
If council wants to go in that direction, we'd have to crunch the numbers and see what the total.
But I think we're still going to be
total amount would
at
be.
30%, right? Even if we did that.
I'll say what my concern is with it. We're playing a little bit of a numbers game here, hoping that by next year, revenues are going to increase to cover the much needed pay raises for all of our city staff. If it doesn't, there's likely going to be in the need for a millage rate next year to increase and pay for those staffs. If we add the code enforcement officials' cost to the same reserves, it's going to make next year's millage rate that increase that much more needed. So by this theory, we're spreading the hit across 2 years. Now, if the revenues go up so great next year and property values go up so great, you could actually look into a millage rate decrease last year. But we're kind of hedging our bets a little bit and borrowing interest free to offset what would have to be a millage increase, a larger millage increase this year. So that's and correct me if I'm wrong in stating this, but that's essentially what we're doing now. We're making a loan to ourselves to try and offset a future millage increase, hoping that revenues are going to kick up next year with property values, et cetera, et cetera.
I was thinking the same thing, Todd. I agree. When was the last time we had a millage rate increase? Do you know? I know it wasn't the last 2 years.
No, it was the year prior to that.
So it's not like we do it every year, thank goodness. But at some point we have to pay for what we're asking our employees to supply, and we have to.
And I will say, here's the other benefit that is coming down the pike, and Mike could probably speak to it in greater detail, but you have a lot of developments coming online. The rental properties off Washington, I forgot the name of that development.
Yeah.
You have several others that are in planning stages and according to Mike, close to. So two things. One, that's going to create a lot of revenue for us.
Yes.
Possibly leading to a millage decrease next year. But it is also going to create a lot of code enforcement as new people come in and that sort of thing. So we're getting ahead of the curve with the hope of offsetting down the road.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, and I agree with those arguments. But again, I guess I'm confident that if these things do come, and like I said, we're kind of anticipating it will be okay, possibly even lower it. Why not roll the dice now? Because if we increase it, that's a real hit to the residents, right? If we roll the dice, we don't, and we do have to raise it a little bit extra next year. I guess the understanding would be, well, we let it roll a year in hopes that we could cover it, but we didn't, and so now we got to come back and get it again. I don't think that, and I hope that's not the situation we're going to be in, but that would be my approach. Like I said, we have the money to cover it. It's not that much, and again, I brought up alternatives to this, and I think there's room for improvements. I also think we've got a new city manager coming in that's going to look at all this stuff objectively and hopefully make some adjustments that maybe we can find some more savings or whatever. So I would rather stay static. Obviously, people are going to be paying more with the existing millage rate just because the property tax increases, or not tax increase, but the valuation playing in that. So they're going to be paying more anyway. another 0.18 is just that much more. So that'd be my thought on it. But I do understand the argument. I think any way it works, it's a gamble.
I personally think we're doing $40 more this year from the millage increase, $40 to $60 more, in hopes of offsetting $120 next year. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I agree. I like to see the slight increase now, and then,
Ease into it.
hopefully we don't have a hard hit next year.
Fair enough. Okay. So we don't need to vote or anything. Just the direction set.
This is pretty much just a direction for the next hearing, but I
Okay.
mean, if you want to take public comment, that's.
Yeah. Two folks signed up for public comment. Joe Malin, welcome.
Joe Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. We're all here tonight about the employee wages, and I agree with everyone up front that our employees do probably need a raise. Well, it's probably not probably, they do need a raise. But I also want you all to keep in mind, how are we going to pay for this? You can't just keep doing millage increases to pay for everything that the city wants to get done. Because eventually, a lot of the folks that moved here to be here because they want to will have to be moving out because they can't afford the taxes and stuff. That happens. If we can't afford the taxes, there's no one to replace us, city goes away also. I think we kind of saw that, well, we'll leave that go. And I want to take into the account, I want you guys to take into account the cost of dental care, and it's provided, I don't know if the city does or not, retirement benefits in addition to the wages. And when I worked corporate outside, those increases, if you had like a $30 an hour job, it bumped it up between $38 and $42 an hour if you added in all the cost of the benefits that the employees are getting. And last time I heard some fantastic wage stuff go out, says, oh, well, a lot of big wage, $20, $22 an hour. I looked into a lot of those. And let me tell you how that works. First of all, they don't offer medical, they don't offer dental, they don't offer any kind of retirement plan, and they only give the employees that they hire just enough hours so they can call them part-time employees and they don't have to pay for full-time benefits. Okay, so I want you guys to keep that in mind also, and it's apples to apples. There's, here, employees from like Newport Richey, Brooksville, places like that, that's what we should be comparing this to. And just because we have an excess of money somewhere in a rainy day fund, I don't think that all should be taken out, because there's other things in the city that have to be paid for also. Okay, so, and if they are going to do, and I don't think that anyone sitting behind me is going to agree to this, you are going to do this fantastic wage stuff, fine, give them all $40 an hour, let them pay for all their own benefits. And I think that everyone's going to find out real quick that maybe working for the city and having full-time benefits, full-time hours, and they don't have to worry about day-to-day what's going to go on, that they have a job to go to all the time, that, it makes it a little more appreciative. I know I did that. I worked in a group that, that did that, and they said, well, you can either work for us, benefits are there, wages is a little lower, or we can give you this big, fantastic, salary up front, but you buy all your own stuff. And that works out really well until you find out what the cost of all your own stuff is. Medical's high, dental's high, if you can get dental, and, retirement only comes with IRA or Roth IRAs or 401k packages. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Next up, I have Jackie Hanfield. What?
Thank you all for being here, considering the disaster that we all encountered last night, yesterday. My name is Jackie Hanville. I work at 6333 Ridge Road. I've worked here at the city for over 10 years, and there's very few employees who work for the city who have worked here for that long time. I appreciate your input and your perspective. I can tell you in the 10 years that I've been here, there's been very few wage increases. We've had many years where we've gotten 0, several years where we've gotten 1 or 2, and a couple of years that we've gotten 3%. I apologize I wasn't here at the last meeting. I was homesick with my kids, but I'm here today. I did review that meeting. I appreciate your support and your consideration for the employees because we do come to work every day and we want to work hard for you and provide great services. And the equipment that have been purchased helps us do that, but it is becoming increasingly harder to survive. And although, yes, we all need to budget both at work and at home, when you have such a low wage, and I'm not speaking for myself, but many of the lower paid employees here, you can only cut so much. And as one of the other employees who spoke, there's some employees who have to work a second job just to make ends meet because you can't cut anymore. I appreciate this wage study. I truly do. I tried to negotiate for this wage study. For those of you who are here and you remember, I wanted a wage study to classify our jobs so that I could negotiate appropriately to help the city prepare for the minimum wage increases because we are way behind. And I'm so thankful to have this in place now. I'm happy to see that we are able to increase 17 employees who don't even make the minimum. I can say that looking at that spreadsheet, there have been title changes and some people have taken on additional responsibilities because of the vacancies we have. But those who don't make that 2 year, they've been here longer than 2 years. And just because they've had a title change, now they don't qualify to get to that midpoint range. I want to take that into consideration, let you guys look at that and consider that, as well as seeing that there's some higher paid management who are getting higher increases than the lower paid employees who are boots on the ground keeping your services running. Those are the people struggling to survive, not the higher wage salary employees. I'm happy to see many of us getting to that minimum, but we have not been able to keep up with the cost of living in this city. And we need to consider also in the future, as we negotiate, that we need to increase those lower paid employees a little bit more. And yes, there will be some compression, but we need to make sure that these people can survive. Again, I thank you for doing this. I thank you for speaking up for the employees because we sincerely need to get to a livable wage. It has been a huge struggle. I think that's all that I had to cover. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
Thanks, Jackie.
To working for you.
Thanks. Show of hands, somebody. Dave?
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. One of the things that I think you need to consider, we're 10 months into the year. In the last several budget cycles, there was levels of contingencies that were set aside to try to help shore up those reserves so that we had meet our state obligation, all right? I don't hear any commentary on where do we stand with those today, how are we running this year, is there going to be any benefit or underruns when you take your revenue and expense? Are we going to have more that we're going to dump into the reserves, and now the reserves are actually higher than what Mr. McCleary was indicating? So given that, I'm wondering if you could take all the upticks, the salary study and the code enforcement and the other things that we've been discussing, or you guys have been discussing, into next year without millage rate increase. It begs the question, where do we stand year to date? Where do we think we're going to land at the end of the year? What overage or benefit would be able to be rolled into the reserve, and would that be appropriate? Something to consider.
Thank you.
Deb? Welcome.
Aaron, 14 Bay Boulevard. We definitely do need to increase the employees' wages for sure, but as far as increasing the millage, my problem with that is if you build it, they will come. You know, Florida is growing so fast because we don't have, you know, state income tax, things like that. It's very helpful, you know. It's like, you know, lubrication for everything. It just makes everything, you know, go more smoothly, makes people want to move here. And my problem, you know, I'm more of a libertarian type person, so I'm a small government guy in my head, but I know that doesn't really work because we need government. That's just the way things are. But when you increase the millage, does it ever decrease? I mean, you say that, but it usually doesn't. Government grows and grows and grows, just like the federal side of things, where it's way out of control and it's crazy huge, and we really need to, you know, cut a lot of it out at this point. That's a concern of mine. I think that we might be, you know, trying to increase this before we actually get more revenue coming in. I mean, you know, if you look at some of the tax assessments and stuff like that, you know, for these properties that have been bought and, you know, new properties being developed, there's money that's going to come in. I'm not sure how we can figure that out beforehand or whatever it might be. Do we have, you know, some kind of, you know, what's the word, projected, you know, things? Do we have that? Do we have projections for what, you know, what was bought and what was sold? Because I know a lot of people who just bought their houses. You know, my neighbor was complaining to me, you know, their taxes were $2,000 this year. You know, they're a military couple. I'm not sure what kind of, you know, discounts they're getting because of that. But they're telling me that, you know, they're going to be paying $6,000 next year. And then I guess Pasco is increasing, you know, their millage rate, you know, a substantial amount. You know, and they're telling me it's going to be $7,000, you know, but I believe they paid, you know, five something for their house, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of that. And the persons prior to who owned that house, you know, I believe they paid, you know, $2 something. You know what I mean? So money will come in. I also think there's ways to make money for the city, like utilizing that boat ramp at Nix Park. There's a lot of ways to do that, by the way. That's something that needs to maybe be looked at. There's ways to monetize things that can create money for the city, you know, without taxing, you know, the citizens. Because when does it end? That's my problem with it. But most of all, we do need to increase the wages of our employees. You know, not only to give them a living wage, but to make it so we don't lose them. You know, because it is a competitive, you know, market out there. Because there's other municipalities, and then there's the private sector, and inflation is rampant. There's no escaping it. But if you look at housing and real estate valuations, they're way through the roof, and that will reflect onto, you know, the money coming in the city. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Show of hands, anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you all for your comments.
I do have one thing.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, we do get revenue projections from the county during budget season, correct? So we do, just addressing some of the comments, because they are good comments by all means.
What are they? What are the projections?
I received numbers from the appraiser's office for next fiscal year.
Correct. So
Yes.
there is a projection that comes across from the appraiser's office. She uses that as her base of revenues going forward.
So what did Mike's office say? And what are the numbers? You know, because that's, you know, and I don't want to go back and forth.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a debate. I'm just answering the question specifically that, and you don't have to go into that.
We should have this.
It is all public record. It is integrated into the budget. So you see the numbers that she utilizes for. You don't have to answer.
They should be here, though. Aren't they here? Yeah, they should be here.
Nope taken. Obviously,
During the budget presentation, I did discuss, it was an 8.67% increase
Is that enough?
in the appraisal values.
so this is not an open forum where it's not, you know, we'll have a town hall where we can go back and forth, whatever that. And obviously, anything that you want, public record, reach out to staff and they get that to you. Okay. Thanks. Next up, we have item number 2, selection of final city manager candidates. Turn it over to Mr. Gary for introduction.
Yes, Council. So Colin Bassinger and Associates sent us this very large packet to look over. I know you've only had it for about a day and a half. They delivered it to me on the 29th. They sent it out to you as quickly as possible so we can have this meeting tonight. I had on the cover page of the agenda to select the top three. But I received this information from Colin this afternoon. His recommendation is to select at least 5. Just to let you know, we did start out with 9. This packet currently has 7. One candidate did not make the final vetting, and one has already obtained another job. So his recommendation is, to look over all these and at the minimum select 5 people, so then at least council feels confident of the ones they select. So these are the city managers to discuss, and it's up to you what direction we need to go in.
So we can discuss them if you all want. If you guys wanted to kind of take a poll, if you look at the thing that they sent over, whatever, where you pick 5, and then we can kind of tally those and maybe discuss after that. Or if we just start some discussion, however you all want to do it's okay with me.
Yeah, the city clerk, she'll take the final poll and tally off these sheets. And you can do it each way you want. You can, when it comes to the select column, you can just go ahead and number which one that you feel is number 1 through 7. And then we'll go ahead and put them in an order of what the majority of council wants, or just go ahead and check off 5 candidates, and we'll just go ahead with that. So whatever way you would like to do that is fine.
If I may, with
Sure.
my thought. First, I'd like to thank Colin Bassinger and Steve. I think they did a phenomenal job putting this together. I happened to talk with Colin and Steve earlier today, and I said, you did your job so well, it actually made our job harder, I think, because all of the candidates I feel are qualified to do the job. It's probably who has best fit, and I guess that little something extra and whatever it is, and, the cream of the crop. So I think, I almost want to say we can't go wrong, but it is still a very important decision. I agree with what Colin said later on. I think picking 3 is a bad idea because of this fluid environment.
Mm-hmm.
They drop out too quick, they find new jobs, they do whatever. So I think we should definitely choose and interview 5 with the hopes that 3 are still there at the end of the day. So, I think, maybe we just go through. If we want to discuss why we did it, I don't know if that's necessarily important, but maybe with the straw poll, just go through, pick the 5 we think. And if we find consensus on 3 of them or 4 of them or whatever, then we debate who goes in as that 5th candidate. But let's try and get as many consensus as we can to get them as the through, I guess, like America's Got Talent. you get through, and then we debate on the ones that we can't necessarily agree on, and maybe talk those 1 or 2, hopefully, from there. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and so I would suggest, at least initially, just pick 5, tally those up, and then after we see how that falls out, maybe be unanimous, well, discuss it, but
We may be done right away. Yeah.
if not, then we could do another poll and actually add, rankings to them where we would rank the 5 and then see how they fall out that way, maybe.
Well, I mean, yeah, if we can get 3 that there's complete consensus on, then they're automatically through. Then we're just worrying about getting 2 out of the next 4.
Right.
And then maybe have the discussion.
Yeah, because I would like to hear, I might have missed something that you saw or vice versa. So that discussion on the others, I think would be a good discussion to have.
Yeah.
So
So we'll just go through round 1,
pick 5 and
pick it out, and then Ashley can tell us how good or bad we are. in
Make
agreement.
sure you check your name and sign it, because this will be kept as part of the record.
Yeah,
And don't worry about ranking them, just check.
yeah, that's what I did. That's what I was doing. That's why I was late. I was studying. I've had this for so long, I forgot what I read yesterday.
I was so surprised on the size of it. I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be a lot. And she actually printed on both
I
sides.
know, I see.
Yeah, what I will say, once we get to the interview process, do not throw this away. Let's just keep
Oh, I'm not
reusing these books so we can, this has my
Oh, yeah,
notes and
that's-
things.
that-
So let's keep this to the
We can
side.
do that. We can save these.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so let's just keep these books and then we can.
Don't we have separate books? Just, Put these in the other book or something.
Yeah, whatever. I don't.
You want me to make a city manager binder with that stuff?
Yeah, just take it
Yeah,
and put it in there, maybe. That's a good idea. That's a good
There's so
idea.
much work into this already. Let's just keep this section and then.
Yeah, 'cause we'll definitely be referring back to this. Yeah.
And I don't want Linda's notes. I want my notes.
You might not be able to read my notes, but
No,
Well, mine's chicken scratch and little, so it's not really much to look at.
going forward, we'll make 5 binders that'll have your names on it, and it'll just be the city manager binder.
yeah, that's a
for
good
this-
idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So, and actually, we'll just, whatever 5 we come out to, we'll take out the other 2 and just keep it at the 5.
Just grab the whole thing and stick it in a
Yep,
binder. That
that's
way we
exactly
still have
right.
it.
Think we get some city backpacks to cart all
We
our
have.
binders in the.
We'll get you a little backpack, we'll get you a little cart.
Yeah, I mean, really,
Get a little cart to take them with you.
like Tom said, remove the first 3 pages, pull out the thing, just stick in city manager and give us the binder. It's already done.
And it's a thick one. I wouldn't want to tear all that out and put it in another one.
I mean, it's a
Think of
ream
the
of
trees you'll
paper a
save.
piece,
Yeah.
so.
Think of the trees we'll save by recycling.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. I just want to say that all these candidates have a lot of strengths. It's
Yeah.
very unique between all of them. It's
Yeah, one of the things that Colin and Steve said to me was that you could literally close your eyes, pick one, and you'd be okay. So it's comforting to know we got a good solid slate of candidates.
Absolutely.
I was just happy that people of this caliber was very, and they're all, that, you know, and despite what they previously made, they're all saying that willing to take, they're very interested in Port Richey. That's the whole thing it was about. Very
That's
interested.
because we're wonderful.
Really, it was a
Saying.
chance to work with us. It is really what
We're on YouTube, they've seen us, so they know.
we have a drum roll.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yes,
Top 5, right?
yes.
Okay. So Matt Koppler, Don King, Mark Rooney, Chris Russo, that's 4, and Adam Klein. That's the top 5.
Now, was that consensus across?
So Matt Koppler had 4, Don King had 4, Mark Rooney had 4, Chris Russo had 4, and Adam Klein had 2. The other 2 candidates had 1.
So technically, we don't have consensus on Adam Klein.
Yeah.
Is where it is.
Yes, correct.
The other 4 we have consensus on.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I guess the last position to go through to the final round. I watch AGT, okay?
Do we have a golden buzzer?
Yeah.
We won't hold that against you.
Is basically the one we have to debate to get consensus, correct?
Or you just.
So who was the 6th? So it's basically Adam Klein. Who was the I guess the 6th?
Wait, no,
person? Was it tied for?
It was tied. Jeff Schubert has 1 and David Williams has 1.
All right, so. I guess we discuss, I don't know how to go from there. Discuss Adam Klein and the whys, and then
Would there be any value in taking those top 4, removing those?
yeah, they're out. They're through to
We
the
had
final round.
what I'm saying is just go ahead and vote again to see how they fall.
Well,
Here's the problem.
yeah, no, I maybe have a little discussion on them so that we know why
Sure.
what I see as strengths, as weaknesses, what you see as strength is, et cetera, what we picked out. Because then again, you might have picked out something that I didn't pick up on, that I say, oh, okay, I got that now. Because there is a lot of material that we've all had to go through here. So I can certainly appreciate the fact that I might have
And while you
skimmed
guys,
over something, unfortunately.
while you guys discuss, I will go print out more of these and have round 2.
Great, thank you.
I mean, it's public knowledge who we voted for, so we,
Yeah.
you know, as
Yeah.
far as the 4th, we can say, well, who voted for Adam Klein, who voted for Jeff Schubert, and who voted for David Williams. I voted for David Williams, and just kind of discuss it from there. And
Well, the reason I voted for Mr. Klein was he does have water and stormwater experience, which is extremely important, obviously, since that's our main thing. I did not see, Mr. Schubert having specific water and stormwater strategy, I mean, like a plant, et cetera, responsible for that. And since that is such a big, it's very important in our city, that's one of the reasons and the same thing with Mr. Williams, I don't recall him having water and stormwater drainage experience, if I'm not mistaken. Because everything was so even to me, like y'all said, everything was so even Steven across the way, but one of the things that they didn't have was the water and the stormwater experience. So that's why I voted for Mr. Klein.
I was tossed between Dave Williams and Adam Klein. I went with Adam Klein. I thought Dave Williams had the administration that we're looking for, the most current 9 years at the one. But what impressed me about Mr. Klein, even though his strong background was law enforcement, but as a township manager, when he was faced with a millage renewal, the fact that he went out and campaigned the citizen, to explain to them, actually gone out, it shows his dedication, his loyalty to the community, and help the citizens understand why they're doing what they're doing.
And that's Mr. Klein.
That was very impressive to me. Thus, I chose Adam Klein.
Yeah, one of the things I did underline in his opening letter was holding the ideal that keeping citizens' interests above all others' interests equates to success. So that was the first thing that stood out to me in that first letter, first paragraph even. So.
My comments on Klein, again, solid candidate. A couple things that I guess concerned me when I was going through the references. This one, not so much, but one of the weaknesses was would like to please everyone but cannot. That's a given. But the one that kind of stood out to me was he does not get along well with Oakland's current board of trustees. Again, the process behind that comment, but they didn't make that out, which was kind of concerning.
He did address that in his statement. He did address that on page 243 in the third paragraph, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So he didn't ignore it in his statement of himself.
Oh, you meant the elected official vary on,
Yeah.
they speak, yeah.
So in other words, there was a reason. The person that the board of trustee person he felt self-serving and he didn't buy into that. He was trying to do what's best for the town. That's how I read this. So that's happened sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, no,
So I didn't see that as a negative.
Yeah, no, you're gonna have that. I think the way it was put, though, he's not getting along well with their current board of trustees. And I guess
And
could
he
it be just
addressed-
one or
and-
two,
and he
or is
did-
that all of them? Yeah, so.
And he acknowledged that, I feel, in his answer here as to why that happened.
I'll give my analysis of the two. I voted for David Williams as opposed to Adam Klein. Again, I think they're both very well qualified. So it's to me, I thought David Williams was more experienced as a city manager with a city the similar size as ours. So although he was from Massachusetts, I believe it was, up north, I saw a lot of similarities between where he did a lot of his experience from. He was there for 12 years. So for a city manager to live 12 years where you, in a place where you live by 3 votes at the end of the day, says something a lot that he gets along well with, you know, the board or the council or whatever, whatever they call it up there. So he knows his way around. He left under amicable terms. I think he has more experience in running a city than Adam Klein, so we can get that more experience here. I think that's a benefit to it. And that was really the crux of my decision. Not that I, by any means, don't think Adam is capable of doing the job. It's, you know, the best choice from a group of great candidates. So that's really was the part of mine. The other caveat is he did the majority of his experiences being a police officer and a police chief. To me, we have one already, so I'm not necessarily looking for that experience. It is more of a, and again, part of it is concern down the road. Is there going to be some interference from someone who's done the job for so long to our police chief? Is there going to be that type of dynamic? Not saying that there will, and he may be the greatest and back off and let him do his job and whatever, or he may bring valuable information. But I'm always worried about, you know, not only the qualifications and the credentials, but also the dynamic when they come in and how does that work across. This, I saw the greatest potential for friction, not that there would be, just because when you're, I mean, and I'm going off of what's there, he's been in a police officer from 1987 to 2019, and then he was a township manager from 2019 on. He's been a police officer a hell of a lot longer than he's been a city manager, whereas David Williams was a city manager a hell of a lot longer than he's never been a police officer. So it's an easy equation. That was really the background of my decision. Again, both great candidates.
Suggestion, obviously it's going to cost the city money to bring people that are not local in for interviews and whatnot. We do have a strong consensus on 4. Maybe, and again, if we move through these quickly, we probably won't run into a problem with news. That's obviously always out there that they may take a job, but what if we were to go with the 4 and move forward with that? Obviously, we can always, if these guys are available, bring them in. That, but we got a strong consensus on 4. Do we need another 5th or not? It's going to cost us to bring them in. So.
Well, with the market is moving as fast as it does, spending $1,500 to fly a guy in, if he's the right guy, and I'm saying guy because they're all guys, that's a drop in the bucket over 10 years.
It's small potatoes, but again, it's all these small potatoes do add up.
I already spent $20,000 to get this list.
Sure,
I'm allowed to spend another $1,000 to see if we have consensus.
Yeah.
My concern that we should pick another person between now and then, we may lose 2 candidates. So I'd rather have that cushion that we could at least bring those in that, you know, because will be.
Don't forget, if they decide to take another job before the interview process, we're not going to pay those flight costs anyway. So we're going to save there just to have a list of what Colin can go with, is my thought.
Yeah, I mean, we get to 5th. Like I said, we had a strong consensus on the 4.
Yeah, again, I don't have a problem with Mr. Williams. Like I said, I was tossed up between the 2, but yes, Mr. Klein is lacking that managing a city, town. Mr. Williams has that experience. I don't have a problem with Mr. Williams.
Do we want to do another vote, or I mean, is there still consideration for Mr. Shoebridge?
I personally voted for him. You know, as you get down to, I mean, to these bottom 3, if you will, by our consensus, you know, I guess I elevate him because he's local. He's been a city manager of a similar type town down at Ridge Shores. He does live in Newport Richey. you know, I'm gonna weigh a lot more. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of information here. It's good information, but you know, I've seen it both ways. I've seen somebody come in with an impeccable resume and just a horrible interview, right? What that interaction is tantamount in my mind. So I think I almost weigh the personal interview more than I do what you have on paper. That being said, you know, he did come forward right out the gate. He's very interested. So I kind of weighed that in my decision. So you know, he's local, so it's you know, it's not very tasking to bring him in and interview him. Like I said, now on paper he may not be as strong as some of these other guys, and I get that. So that's my thought on him. So
Being local to me was not a criteria because I want the best of the best, irregardless
sure,
of where they
doesn't
live.
matter where they're from, but
And if I see what you were talking about with years of experience and using that, each of them, I put down how many years in each thing, and job hunting, you know, job hopping is important too. You know, you're here, year and a half there, 2 years there, that's job hopping. We don't want to be doing this again in 2 years from now. And one of the reasons I did not pick Mr. Schubert, although he did present very well, he was a very nice man, I liked him very much. His last 2 jobs, he was there as the city administrator for 2.5 years, then town administrator at Reddington Shores for 1.25 years. That's his experience as an administrator. Prior to that was council member and everything else. So that was the one reason you know, he needs a little bit more experience. We're trying to do a lot of stuff here and experience that. I understand what you guys were saying about the difference before. So that was the one reason I did not pick him, although he was a very nice gentleman.
I mean, for me, for Jeff Shoebridge, I agree. He has 3 years of experience, which, you know,
You got to start somewhere. I appreciate that.
in a different list of candidates that we have available to us would be different consideration. Right now, just from the experience that we have in this book outside of him, you know, I'm going for the best choice that I see available from an experience standpoint. Again, nice guy. I think he has the heart to do it.
Yes.
I think, you know, if he were chosen, he would perform on the job. I think just his heart would allow him to perform. But unfortunately, he's up against stronger candidates, in my opinion.
there is no doubt in that.
Yeah, and it's why would I pick and I'm going to say this, a weaker candidate from the documents when I have another choice. That's really it. And it's not saying he's a weak candidate by any means.
Right, no.
It's a relative sense.
No, and of the bottom 3, like I said, the other 4 those are my votes.
Yeah.
The only where I differed was on Jeff. Like I said, because the other 3, they were all relatively equal. I think Klein, if I remember the conversation with Steve, Klein, I think had maybe the least experience, but I could be wrong in that.
Yeah, he's got 3 years as a city manager.
So,
and that's really why I took him out of, not consideration, because to me he was in the same category as Shoebridge,
right.
Somewhat inexperienced in the position, where we had where in my opinion I had a stronger candidate from an experience standpoint, resume standpoint, in Mr. Williams.
And to be honest, either one of those 3, to me, for the 5th candidate, I could go either way. No real preference, strong either way.
Do we want to take another vote and just see where we fall out, and maybe it answers itself?
Sure.
On just those 3.
On just those 3. You can't vote for anybody
So
else.
just vote for 1 out of the 3.
1 out of the 3.
If you
Should we put like round 2 on the top, or does it matter?
I have round.
Okay.
If you give me just a moment,
Ding, ding.
I'm gonna look over Williams here for a second.
Although they're going through hosts like flies now.
You can't replace the man.
You can't replace Alex Trebek.
Bob Barker just passed. She doesn't record it, nothing. She doesn't believe in any of that. She's to this day, she has to be in front of it at that time.
We have a tie?
You have consensus.
Okay.
David Williams.
Okay.
So your top 5 is Matt Poplar, Don King, Mark Rooney, Chris Russo, and David Williams.
And I would like to thank all of the other candidates for
Absolutely.
putting in
Thank you very
resumes.
much.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a hard choice, I have to
It
say.
really was.
It was very nice to, at least what I got out of all the candidates was they were really excited to actually come here and work and willing to even sacrifice on the salary range. That was pretty impressive to see that.
Which was a great change from two or 3 years ago when we were going through, and it was not as many people were banging down the door.
All right. No, this was great.
Before we conclude, I would like to go ahead and on page.
I'll open up public comment too on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You want to wait? Go ahead. I mean, we can discuss first if you want.
No, if you want to talk to public comment, that's fine. I want to talk about page 33 when we
Okay.
come back. Only it's about the schedule and the dates to set the interviews. So I just want to go over that a little bit with council.
Okay. I don't have anybody signed up, but if anybody likes to speak, show of hands. Yes. If you have any opinion.
The last 2 city managers, I didn't think were all that, oh, I'm sorry, Joe Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. I didn't think were all that great for us. And so this time, the qualities I'm hoping you guys are looking for, someone who's more like runs the city like a CEO that has leadership abilities. I would like to see that someone says, we started out in this city with nothing here, and by the time we ended up, we had a lot of things and this may be, things that you're doing already. I don't know, because I'm not privy into any of this stuff. And I also want you to be aware of, I have worked in government type stuff before, and remember that your city manager is basically the person that is going to be controlling all the folks that we have, the folks that need the raises and folks that do the work and stuff like that. And I hope that you look back into their background. I would like to have a city manager, a new one, that doesn't do the blame and shame stuff when things don't go his way or go right. No bullying tactics, which I've heard a lot from the employees. In the 5 years I've lived here, there were some people that got bullied pretty badly. And a leader, not a follower. And then finally, I don't want us to have someone who's our best buddy. Don't need a good friend, don't want to go to dinner with this guy. I just want to see him move the city forward. Okay, so, anyway, that's all I have to say about it. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Dave, welcome.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. I echo what Joe indicated. I think it's incumbent upon us to make the right decision and the right hire. Somebody that's going to be here as a leader, not a follower like we have had in the past. Potentially one that, like you said, move us forward out of this thing, bring the employees and the citizens together, enhance the communications in this city. Look at the long-term goals and objectives and incorporate that into a rhythm here that will allow staff and the residents to get the vision and move forward with that. I know that we've been talking about the waterfront district for some time, and we still haven't got a shovel out of the ground. Yep. So I think we need to take a look at that as an option. Let's get with the program there, and maybe we need a new leader there. Maybe we need to get rid of the people that are not moving the ball forward and find somebody that will, and make some hard decisions. And like you said, you don't want somebody to be your friend. You want results. So we need to look to be a results-driven city and try to get those objectives cleared. Thank you.
Dave. Anyone else? Seeing no hands, look for a motion. Well, no business, but I don't think we have anything. But, oh, that's right. Sorry.
If we can go to page 33 of the agenda, which it shows the schedule draft that Colin laid out for us as far as the interviews. Definitely want to go over a couple of items. First off, they had the 14th and 15th on there. We have the P&Z meeting at 1 o'clock on the 14th. I was thinking of the 18th and 19th. Now, the only issue that I see following this schedule, of course, is council's availability during the daytime with some of these in-person interviews, one-on-one interviews. His schedule has it, some in the morning and going on throughout the day. So that's one item I'd like to. That's the second item I'd like to talk about, council. Also, the schedule that they have for the interviews themselves are only about 30 minutes each. I was wondering if that's enough time for each candidate for you. If not, I can recommend to Colin to extend that time. Moving forward, this is going to be more or less staff coordinating with these candidates as far as flight, room, setting up these times, complete communication. So it's going to be a lot more boots on the ground than Colin. Colin's going to help with some of that communication, but this is going to be more or less me, the city clerk, setting up these times, blocking this in and moving forward. I like the 2-day type of scenario that they have. That first day we can include either the CAC or public when it comes to the finalist reception, meet and greet type of scenario for that first day, and then of course the second day be more council business related and interviews. So I'm just looking for a little bit of council direction so we can pretty much come up with a formulated plan to move forward.
Well, I'll say, if you put it on a Monday and a Tuesday, I will not be able to attend. Thursday and Friday, from my schedule perspective, works very well. Personally, I'll be selfish on this. Tuesdays are just horrible for me in general for something like this, but Mondays and Fridays are much better. Because it seems like we have an entire day on, I'll say the 15th, between individual interviews and then whole council session interviews. So I'll just leave it at that. In terms of the half hour versus the hour, from a timing perspective, it seems like a half hour gets us to a 1 day's event between joint session and individuals. So we, just in the interest of that, we may want to keep it to a half hour or so.
This DS is 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's 40 minutes.
That's 40 minutes. 40 minutes. 40 minutes.
40 minutes,
I mean,
yeah.
but they gotta walk from here to there, I don't know, can't be places at one time, so it's gonna be a little bit of downtime in between the interviews.
I mean, I think probably 30 minutes is enough.
I mean,
If
theoretically, we're going to have a half hour with them individually and then another 30 minutes with them in joint session.
Right.
So you are going to get a full hour.
Yeah. I mean, if you leave the 40-minute time frame, if you are going over, there's a little buffer there.
40-minute time frame, but say 35 minutes, because they gotta go to the restroom, they wanna get, they have to go.
Yeah.
To the GI.
I'll leave that buffer in there.
So leave that 5-minute, buffers, but yeah. I mean, that's.
Just from a logistics standpoint, would the individual interviews be in city council, or what's the thought on that? Just from a logistic, like you said, are they going to be walking from here to there, or are they going to be
walking?
Or are we going to be walking from here to there, or whatever? Yeah, I don't care.
Are we going to have it, hold it at the power bar or something?
Now we're talking.
I mean, I'm looking at the venue, so we have.
Thank you for the input.
They just go right to there, don't they? I apologize.
He's retired.
We can hold them all. We can hold them here at City Hall and just coordinate at what time and who's going to be with who. Obviously, we have the council chambers. We have a conference room right out front that we can isolate and do interviews with there. We have different offices, to accommodate some of these time frames. Not really worried about that. We can work that out. It's just my more concerned about locking in the days and if you are all going to be available to do this daytime type of schedule. So that's what I'm really concerned about because I know
I'll take
majority
the
of
day
you
off.
work.
I would take the day off of work. I would, unfortunately, the 15th, I have something that's kind of like important.
You said 18th and 19th, you meant 17th, 18th, didn't you?
Thursday, Friday. Oh, well,
19th is Saturday.
well, no,
Am I getting,
September we're talking.
did I look wrong?
The 14th and 15th is a Thursday and a Friday. I mentioned the 18th and 19th as a Monday and Tuesday because that was the next available. But I guess we can attempt to push it to the 21st and 22nd of September and lock that in.
Here's the problem with that.
Or the 13th, 14th?
For the 21st, we have that trim budget hearing.
Yeah, we have the true budget here, but you're also pushing a week now. So now we're
Yes.
we're
Yeah, but it's
starting.
only one day before he said. 13th and 14th is only one day prior to what this says.
I thought he just said 21st and
You're on
22nd.
No, these are just dates I'm shooting out. The 14th and 15th are the original planned days. I recommended we can do 18th, 19th, which was a Monday, Tuesday. Councilman McClary said that was the worst time to schedule.
What about the 13th and 14th?
That's what I just said.
Yes, that's what she.
The 14th is a planning and zoning meeting.
No, it was your
But we
idea.
can- I mean,
Good
planning and
idea,
zoning
Todd.
before-
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate my idea.
Yes, that's.
Well, if I can jump in, I know this has nothing to do with me, but I'm a mother and I coordinate a lot of stuff. So this is my only thought I did come up with. The planning and zoning starts at 1. The first, well, you want the nighttime reception though for the first day. I was going to do that part in the morning. And so do what's currently listed for the September 14th afternoon events. Could they be the morning of the 14th? And that would be done. P&Z could meet at 1, and then you could do your 15th.
And also, I mean, we can stick with the schedule because I just noticed as well is that at 1 o'clock it'll be tours of the city. So it's not like they're going to be doing anything
Yeah.
in
There's
council
a meeting
chambers,
in the lobby.
in
So-
council chambers anyway to do to interfere with P&Z.
Right.
And P&Z is definitely not going to go to 3:30 in the afternoon. So I mean,
The 15th is,
how long do you? I mean, how long are we projected on that?
On the agenda right now, we are going to be discussing, I think, 5 code
So it could be
provisions.
a
So
while.
it may go a while,
I-
but we can close those.
I actually
rooms.
want to attend that meeting myself.
Okay.
And then 15th, I have the meeting with the
Okay.
county for the dredging.
So much for my motherly abilities to help.
So the 15th is out. Now we're looking at Linda's idea of the 14th.
13th and
13th, 14th.
Well, P&Z is on the 14th.
Yeah.
That's
Well, yeah, but they're touring the city.
No, the 14th would be the 15th
would
on
be the
this
second.
schedule.
Yeah, would be the
Damn it.
second day.
Yeah, that'd be the same time.
Yeah, but again, there are interviews. So, oh,
What is it? From 1 o'clock, review procedures with interviews, farmers one.
well, why don't we kick?
Where is this at? I mean,
That would be here. That's the joint
but
session.
with who?
Us.
Oh, all is one?
Yes.
You're open.
How many people are in the P and Z?
Can I make a suggestion? What,
Can they go in the conference?
you said Mondays, it's no good for you, right?
Oh,
Monday.
Because if
Yeah,
we,
but we don't want to keep them here the whole weekend.
can we go? in
oh,
the
I see what you're saying,
conference room?
yeah.
Public hearing.
No offense, I am looking out for money there. I don't,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not gonna
didn't,
put them
yeah,
up the
I
whole
wouldn't think
weekend.
about that.
I'm-
Good
I'm-
point.
I know.
I propose it.
There you go.
Well,
As long as you knows where it is.
You know what? Here's a thought.
What?
Flip them. Put the joint session in the morning, 9 o'clock to 12. And then we go to individual interviews in the afternoon because you don't need council chambers for the individual interviews. So on the 14th, you're flipping them. So we're going to have a joint session at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning where we have our joint discussion with them. And then we go to the individual discussions. And then that gets us out of the way for planning and zoning.
That sounds like it works.
I mean, again, I want to attend the planning and zoning meeting. It's just,
Well, this is on the 13th and 14th.
Yeah, but he wants to be here for the planning and zoning.
yeah, there's-
Watch
Well,
the
I mean,
YouTube.
no offense, but like, this is, I mean.
Well, I get that, but if we could schedule
trust
around
them
it.
To do their thing. And
Watch
this
the
is
YouTube.
Selecting a city manager. We don't want to lose a good candidate for that, in my
Right.
opinion.
Watch the YouTube.
Well,
I can't comment on YouTube, so,
Oh, that's true.
and that's right, yeah, but I have comments to make, so.
Oh, here. You could, but no one would hear you.
That's true. Yeah. Be ineffective comments, I guess, at that point.
But if that's, if you flip it, and then, I mean, you could take, I don't know if you want to sit for the whole meeting with P and Z, or if you were to kind of come in the beginning, make a comment, you could leave.
Yeah. I mean, I was in for the long
and
haul,
work
but
that in.
if those are only 2 dates, I guess I'll have to make adjustments.
Up to you, Eric.
What do we have at 1 o'clock?
That was flipping, it was a good idea, Todd.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have roughly 3 hours of joint session. Yeah, so it took us from 9 to 12. Maybe you could do, well, they may be longer, but you could do your 2 finalist interviews and flip-flop them. No, that would maybe not work.
You interviewed all of them, just like us.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think. Email in your interviews, they can read them. Or your comments, they can read
Well,
them.
and to be honest, I mean, they've got a full plate of stuff, and I think they got added to that because they're going to be doing
Not that I know of. Well, as far as I know,
you're
it's
doing
just
4 code things, and then
it's 4 or 5 code provisions.
and
is
I
all
think there's
on the agenda.
there's a zoning variance. Something.
Not that's been scheduled to my knowledge, no. I think someone may come to speak, but I don't think anything's been scheduled.
Oh, okay.
To initiate that,
Yeah,
to move that along, he's gonna present before them, but it's not an item as of yet. We have no packet for that, but he's more than happy to get the consensus to move that forward with P and Z.
So we're spending more time on when we're going to meet them than we actually on who we're talking about. So what are we going to decide? Thanks, Sal.
I'm sitting next to you, you quit kicking me.
It's work. That's why I said this is
It's a solid. I got the cop right here.
September is usually is pretty much our busiest month of the year.
Yeah.
And we have a town hall meeting. We have 2 hearings, 2 council meetings. The P and Z, CAC, all in the same month.
A partridge in a pear tree. I was thinking the same thing. I just didn't say.
And the 18th and 19th doesn't work, right, for you guys?
That does not work for Todd.
I can't do the
Both those
19th.
days do not work for him.
The 18th I can do, but that's not going to help anybody.
Yeah.
Especially not helping me because I can't. There we go.
I hate to bring this, recommend this, but the 28th to 29th,
I hate to go.
I know,
This is
I don't
the
want-
last time we lost good candidates.
Yeah, I don't want to go that far.
I'm just saying, I'm
I
looking at all types of
appreciate that.
availability across the board, and I believe me,
That's how we lost good candidates last time. I wasn't sitting up here, I was sitting out there, and we lost a lot of good candidates by
I
figuring
can-
out more.
You can, again, if I can jump in here, it took a lot for Ashley to get P and Z scheduled, and I know that. And I appreciate everyone's patience with that, but we can move that if that is the logical thing to do to make these interviews happen on the 14th and 15th. It's code review, we want to get it done, but you want a city manager. And I know Sal wants a city manager.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and I like that idea, providing it doesn't go to October, November.
Well, this is going to depend on their schedule.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Because they submitted other dates, didn't they? Was there any other thing that they could have done?
The preliminary, it was that, but based on their schedules, Nancy's schedule and mine in August, when I originally reached out to them, and then we reached the September 14th based on availability. That's what we had.
I mean, there's not a room scheduling issue, right? It's just your attendance.
When is P and Z? I'm sorry.
September 14th at 1.
So if we flip these, that goes down there to 1.
So you guys, you guys are posing 13, 14 at this point, right?
I'm sorry?
13, 14, 15th I can't do. 14th I can skip the meeting.
Yeah, well, the 15th is out because you can't do it and Linda can't do it. So we're out.
13, 14?
13th, 14th.
13th, 14th, yeah, the 15th I can't do.
That's fine.
Can you go, like, say your piece at P and Z and you have to be there the whole meeting? I don't know.
It's, no, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a very important meeting.
Of course it is,
Yeah,
of course, it's very important.
Yeah, I'd actually, all of us be there, would be nice, but,
Also, I don't really want to do, it's going to be hard to organize an entire, you know, you're going to have 5 candidates, do a constant rotation between council, staff, everything between those 2 days, and then have that meeting, which I do, you know, I agree with you, deserves the attention because there are issues that have been waiting for a little while. But to try and do all that simultaneously, I will need the assistance of the clerk, I will need the assistance of other staff, and to coordinate those at the same time is just not feasible.
So the 14th is out.
You know, I mean, if anything, I'd have to concur with the city attorney. If anything, I would reschedule the meeting.
And obviously, we'll just do the most, as soon as everyone's available, as quick as we can, depending on the.
what about, I mean, I know we got a city council meeting on the 12th. What about the 12th and 13th? Could we,
Todd can't do Tuesday. Oh,
12th and 13th. That's Tuesday.
I can't do
That's my birthday.
That's council meeting.
Yeah, but that's in the evening. That's not a problem.
Is the 13th okay for you? Did we say that the 13th was already to do, even if we went that direction? Councilman McQuaid?
I'm looking on what I can move.
Well, really, the first day.
I can do the 13th. I can move all that all day. I can do all day on the 13th.
So the 12th,
How about
if we move
14th?
this, the first day
14th, I
on
can do
here
all day.
is they tour the city. So let's say the 12th and 13th. They're here. They tour the city at 1 o'clock. You have a reception at 3:30 on the 12th. Finalists have free time, and then 5:30 there's a reception. So there's really on the 12th, Todd. There's nothing for you to do.
really wouldn't need to be here, and they could even come late probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can do all day on the 13th because I don't
So
need
on
to
the
be there.
12th, if you're not, I mean, you don't have to be here during the day.
Yeah, and
Or
I'll be
none
there
of
for
us
the,
do,
I
really.
mean, really, you're gonna have a reception from 5:30 to 7, then you're gonna roll right into a council meeting.
Yeah, which to me, it might be nice for them to be here for a council meeting.
Oh, it's up to them.
That may be a good.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Now, you are such a party pooper.
So what did he say? I didn't hear.
You
Well,
already went, nah, nah, nah.
well, I'm being practical here. It's just, that's a lot to manage and then do a council meeting, which we have already several items planned for. I just, you know, and then I'm not, it's gonna be.
I can help you. Listen,
We're gonna-
I'm already
it's
off that
just
day.
gonna be
I can help
extremely
you.
difficult. I'm just, you know, just between the staff time and organizing this with 5 different candidates to do it on the same night as a council meeting, because it's, you know, you're shifting business from one thing to another. So I don't recommend doing it on the same day as a council meeting, but that's my recommendation.
Is it because it's bumping right up against it? Or is it just,
Oh, because you're gonna need the city clerk for prepping for the council meeting, I'm guessing, and then shuffling everybody around and.
Well, and if we're
Well-
doing meeting here, meet and greet, there's more stuff set up in council
Oh, yeah, then
chambers
you gotta
than
get everything
normal.
out and
Yeah.
turn it right over to,
You know, this tour of the city, this is probably gonna have to start even earlier, because I'm not gonna put 5 candidates in the fit and drive them around city simultaneously. So,
I thought you were gonna put them in the bed of the pickup truck.
This is gonna be
Beverly
broken.
Hills.
You know, it's gonna be broken up separately. I mean, there's things that you're gonna put throughout the day. You know, the finalist, the free time that even states at 5 o'clock, how much free time are you really thinking? Because, you're only giving them a half hour because we're jumping right into a reception, which is probably gonna include, if you wanted, which I would
It's
recommend.
gonna be a
because,
pirate bar according to
you
him.
know, the CAC, any other residents, you know, and other people during that reception. And then, you know, right at 7, either brush them out the door, clean this whole place up, because you're gonna have it, it's gonna be differently laid out. It's not gonna look like this. We're gonna lay it out a different way, you know, for this reception. Either tell everyone to go and redo that. That's just not, I mean, I don't recommend that. I mean, you're asking a lot of work for just a short amount of time to do it on the same night as a council meeting.
So were we trying, we're
Back to the 13th.
back to trying to move the planning and zoning meeting on the 14th.
No, I mean, don't move it. We'll just
Don't move it.
Well, no, he
It's too much
says he
for
can't
Salva
handle.
and his staff to
Yeah,
do.
he says the
It's
staff.
not that we can't handle it, I just,
Oh,
I'm
I-
not
No,
saying
I
you
forgot
can't.
about
Hold on a
that.
second.
I'm not saying you
Hold on
can't
a minute,
handle
don't.
I'm not saying
I
you
think I've
can't
done pretty
handle
good.
it.
yeah.
I'm
I'm not saying that, stop being so sensitive.
I just, lack of sleep is getting to you, Sal.
You need to gamble.
No,
We have a hand shake.
no, it's not. So, here's the alternative. Were we on the, I know we threw out the 20th and the 21st at one point. That alleviates a lot of the issues.
And really, the first day does not include us in the morning. It doesn't include us till 5:30. So whatever day
21st
we
is a
choose, the
budget
first day
hearing.
does not include us. It's just the second day.
Oh, that's at 5:30, but we can move that. That's gonna be a trim meeting, that's gonna be a half hour, no offense.
Followed by the budget meeting.
Yeah, well, you put the budget meeting, oh, yeah. Damn it. Well, we can move the trim meeting to 7:30 or 8 o'clock.
The what meeting?
That's the budget meeting.
Oh,
Is that recorded? Was that sent to as far?
It's not advertised yet.
Okay,
Only
so we can put that at any time we want.
put it at what time?
Well, give them a half hour to change over the space and then they roll right into the budget meeting.
At what time?
7:30? I mean, you tell me. What's feasible? I know we're gonna lose candidates going out to the 20th, 21st. though.
I know.
I know we are.
I agree.
And we can't do it next week because literally they're being notified next week, so. I
And I'm
mean,
not here next week,
Yeah,
all
that-
next
so
week.
basically it's the week of the 11th. Yeah. Is the prime time. The week of the 18th, I know they're gonna drop out. It happened last time.
Yeah, let's just move planning and zoning. City manager is very important. Planning and zoning is very important as well. I'm not trying to put that off, but I don't want to lose good candidates that are going to run our city and make it better.
I mean, in reality, if a hurricane came on the 14th, they'd be canceling planning and zoning anyway, so, and rescheduling. It's not coming, I'm just saying, theoretically.
I know.
I hope you just didn't jinx us there.
It's not coming, I already looked at the weather.
So does the 13th and 14th work for you, Mr. Licari?
Yes, if we move planning and zoning.
I serve on it. On the behest of council, I'll make anything work at this point.
Oh, now you serve. Now that we've scheduled around you.
Now that we've spun around in circles for a half hour.
Oh,
Oh,
it's scheduling around me, I'm just trying to be, I'm just
No,
honestly.
if we move planning and zoning, all seriousness.
That's honestly, all seriousness, yes, we can make that work. 13th and 14th, yes, and I recommend moving planning and zoning.
I would agree with that. Again, planning and zoning is extremely important. I've asked for code changes for the past year and a half. I appreciate them doing that, but I think the city manager,
No,
the selection of
I
that
agree.
is extremely important as well.
I'm gonna send you dates right now.
What we can do is that I'll have the clerk reach out as soon as possible to reschedule as soon as possible, so.
I'm sure they'll understand.
Well, having driven by Sean's house the other day, he probably wouldn't be that upset.
Oh.
Do impress upon them to try not to roll it out too far.
With September, like I said, it's our busiest
Yeah,
month. and
that's tough, I
you know,
understand.
I just don't want to, I agree with not pushing this out,
No,
any further.
I agree. We need to do this, get this done.
The codes will be there, we will address them.
That's part
It's
of the
just a
problem.
matter of time.
They've been there.
The candidates are the time critical
Yeah,
items,
no, I agree.
unfortunately.
Let's roll it. I just like, I'm hopeful that they be able to not be too far out. It took back to Congress to get it to 14th of September.
Okay, so we're agreed on this schedule, except we're moving them one day earlier.
Yes.
Each. And are we flipping? They're not, we're not flipping.
No, there's no
They're the
reason
same?
to flip
Okay.
them.
No reason to know.
Okay, that's all I needed. Any discussion? For motion?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
I got multiple first and seconds. All in favor, signify by saying aye.